right, everyone get ready because today we are diving deep into Imran Khan. We've got a ton of articles and even your own notes, so I know you're all looking for the real story here. He's been a cricket legend, a philanthropist, and of course the Prime Minister of Pakistan, which means he definitely gets people talking. What are we trying to do today?
Well, I think we need to look past all the simple takes and really try to understand this guy.
Yeah, it's amazing how one person's life can change so much. We're going to go all the way back to when Khan was this young, charismatic cricketer, almost as famous for partying in London as he was for his skills on the field. And then we'll see how he became a philanthropist and then a pretty controversial politician.
You know, in your notes, you brought up something about his cricket career that I found really fascinating.
Mm.
You highlighted how he actually changed his whole bowling style to be more classic. Why is that a big deal for people who don't know cricket?
Well, it shows how ambitious he was and how much he was willing to take chances. Imagine being like the best in the world at something and then completely changing how you do it. I guess that would be like a singer suddenly switching to opera or something.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of bowlers, they never really get back to their best after a change that big. But for Khan, it was a risk that paid off. It meant he could bowl really fast and do it for way longer than most guys. Batsmen were terrified of him. I mean, he was already a great athlete, but this showed he really wanted to push himself even further.
So it's almost like we see hints of his personality later on, even back then, not afraid to shake things up, even if it causes some trouble.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that makes his story so interesting. But hold on, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go back a bit. He makes his Test debut against England in '71, his ODI debut in '74, and he becomes one of the best all-rounders in cricket pretty quickly.
And reminder for anyone listening who doesn't follow cricket, all-rounder means he was great at both batting and bowling.
Right, exactly. Most players are good at one or the other.
Mhm.
So he leads Pakistan to their first ever World Cup win in '92. He's a national hero, a legend. You'd think, all right, time to retire and relax, but nope, not Imran Khan.
That's when he gets into philanthropy, right? And it's all because of something really sad, losing his mom to cancer.
It changes everything for him. He saw how bad the cancer treatment was in Pakistan, and it really lit a fire in him. He could have just donated money, but instead he decided to build this amazing cancer hospital that anyone could go to, even if they couldn't pay. He traveled all over, raising millions, put his whole heart into it. This wasn't just charity, it was something he had to do.
The Shaukat Khanum Memorial Cancer Hospital, it's named after his mom, and it opens in '94. It's a symbol of hope for so many people. And in your notes, you said he didn't stop there. He goes on to start Namal College, this technical college in his hometown of Mianwali. What do you think was going on with him then? Was it all just wanting to help people, or were there other things going on?
Well, the interesting thing is you start to see these little hints of him getting interested in politics, giving people better education, especially out in the rural areas, that really fits with the message he'd push later on. But it's also about leaving a legacy. He wanted to make things that would last, that would change people's lives for the better. There's a lot going on in his head, I think, and that's kind of how Imran Khan has always been.
So we have this
Yeah.
guy, really charismatic and driven. He's done amazing things in sports and made a big impact by helping people. And then, as you said, things get even more interesting when he jumps right into politics.
Yeah, 1996, he starts his own political party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or PTI, and it's a rough start. Runs for office in '97, loses, runs again, loses again,
Yeah,
but he doesn't give up easily.
he definitely keeps going, that's for sure. And he does win eventually, right? He finally gets into the National Assembly in 2002, representing his hometown, Mianwali.
And this is where he really starts to make a name for himself in politics. He speaks his mind, especially about the U.S. drone strikes happening in Pakistan's tribal areas. He even joins protests against them.
And his message really connects with people, right? Especially those who are tired of the same old politicians.
It starts to gain momentum. By 2013, in the general election, his party, PTI, comes in second in terms of how many people voted for them. It's a huge change. It shows that Khan is a real player now, and it sets things up for what's coming next.
So PTI doing so well in 2013 really sets him up to win in 2018. He becomes prime minister, and all of a sudden this guy who is a cricketer and then a philanthropist is running a whole country, and it's a country with a lot of problems.
He comes in with this plan, this big 100-day agenda. Promises to fix how the government works, make the economy better, make the country safer. It's nonstop action. And he's really playing up this image of being different, a man of the people. Remember those stories about him selling off all those fancy government cars and getting rid of most of his staff?
Yeah, I read about that. Wasn't there something with like ate buffalo. Like they were being kept at the prime minister's house and he sold them off, part of his like saving money thing. It was all over the news. Do you think any of that was real or was it all just for show?
I mean, it's definitely part of how he wanted people to see him,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it worked. He's saying, look, I'm not like those other politicians. I'm here to help you. But, you know, it's also about how things look. He understands that, using symbols and telling a good story.
But you got to look deeper, right? What was really happening? You mentioned in your notes that his ideas about the economy actually caused some big problems. There was that whole balance of payments thing, which meant Pakistan had to get a bailout from the IMF. Then there were taxes going up and the Pakistani rupee going all over the place. Did anything he did actually help the economy?
It's complicated. Some things got better, some things got worse. You're right, those were rough times for Pakistan's economy. But there were some good things, too. Pakistan actually moved up in the World Bank rankings, the one about how easy it is to do business there. That got better under Khan.
Hmm.
And his government, they made the fiscal deficit smaller, and they got more taxes collected than ever before.
Hmm.
So some wins, but yeah, a lot of people were struggling, and that's what they focused on.
Sounds like his economic policies, some people liked them, some people hated them. Like some people thought they were necessary, tough, but needed for things to get better in the long run. But others, they felt like they were getting hurt by his big plans.
And that kind of thing, that's something you see a lot with Khan. People either love him or hate him. His supporters are really loyal, but the people against him, they really don't like him.
You also pointed out in your notes that his relationships with other countries, especially the U.S., were up and down. He was really against those U.S. drone strikes in Pakistan. And then there was that whole thing where President Trump cut off aid to Pakistan.
Yeah, and then Khan basically says, we're not going to do your dirty work anymore. A lot of people in Pakistan agreed with him. They thought the U.S. had treated Pakistan unfairly for a long time.
So he's standing up to the U.S., which people in Pakistan like, but then he's also trying to work things out with India. And all this is happening while the Kashmir conflict is still going on, which has been a problem between those two countries for decades.
He actually does some good work to calm things down between India and Pakistan after that attack in Pulwama in 2019 and all the fighting that happened after.
Yeah.
Things were getting really tense, and he helped to make things less dangerous. And he never stopped supporting the people in Kashmir. He kept talking about them on the world stage, trying to get them help.
It's interesting, right? With the U.S., he's like, all tough. But with India, he's trying to talk things out. Seems like he knows how to change his approach depending on who he's dealing with, which I guess is what good politicians do.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely practical. He'll do what he needs to do to get what he wants. But back in Pakistan, one of the big things he did was this ISIS program. It was supposed to help people get out of poverty.
Yeah.
Huge program, giving people money, helping them with health care, just a lot of support.
You said that program actually worked pretty well. Like experts in Pakistan and even in other countries thought it was good.
Yeah, they thought it was a good example of how to fight poverty and inequality. And then there was the Sihat Sahulat program, which was all about giving more people health insurance so more people could get medical care.
So some good stuff. But you also mentioned some problems he ran into while he was in office. There were those things he said about Pashtuns and the Taliban.
Right. Those comments, those caused a lot of anger. People thought they were really insensitive, that he was trying to divide people.
Mm.
And it showed how he can just say things without thinking about how they'll affect people.
It's like he's always trying to keep everyone happy, different groups in Pakistan. But he also wants to do what he believes is right. And sometimes that gets him into trouble.
Exactly. And unfortunately for him, things really fall apart in 2022. The people who are against him, they try to kick him out of office, and it creates a huge mess in the country.
That's when we get Lettergate, right? Where he says there's this plot to get rid of him, a conspiracy involving other countries. What was all that about? Because I remember it being really confusing.
It was all about this supposed letter, a threat, that Khan said came from someone in another country's government. He said it proved people outside of Pakistan were trying to get rid of him. It became a big scandal, and it really divided people even more.
So was there anything to back up what he was saying?
Well, later on, the army said that, yeah, they knew other countries were meddling in Pakistan's business. They talked about it in a National Security Committee meeting. But they never actually said it was a conspiracy. But by then, the damage was done. The whole political scene was toxic, and it led to him losing power.
And in April 2022, he becomes the first prime minister in Pakistan's history to be voted out of office. It's a crazy ending to his time as prime minister, but as we know, the story doesn't end there. It's like something out of a movie or a play, right? This guy, so charismatic, reaches the top, and then it all crashes down so fast. But even after he's out, the trouble doesn't stop.
You're telling me there's more to come. A few months later, he can't even hold office anymore because of this Toshikana case. It was everywhere in the news, but honestly, I kind of got lost in all the details. Can you break it down? What was it actually about?
It was basically about all these gifts he got while he was prime minister, fancy watches, a diamond ring, expensive stuff. They said he didn't tell anyone about these gifts or about the money he made selling them, which is against the law in Pakistan.
Oh, I see. So it's about being honest about money and maybe using his position to make himself rich.
Right. And the election commission, they ruled against him, said he lied, and didn't say what he really owned. So now he's not only out of office, he can't even run for office again. You'd think that would be enough for someone to, lay low for a while, but not Imran Khan.
Nope, not him. Things are just getting started. And then just a few weeks later, there's that crazy assassination attempt in November 2022. He's at a rally, and someone shoots him in the leg. I remember seeing the video. It was nuts.
Your notes, it seemed like you were really interested in what happened after that shooting. They caught the guy, and he said he did it on his own, that he was mad about the things Khan was saying and doing. But Khan, he blamed specific people in the government. He said it was a bigger plan to shut him up.
Exactly, and that's what makes this whole thing so wild. It's just accusations flying back and forth. Everyone's using it to push their own story. It makes the political divisions in Pakistan even worse. Everyone's scared, and no one trusts anyone.
And then, like all that wasn't enough, in May 2023, he gets arrested. Corruption charges, something about the Al Qadir Trust, shady land deals, using money that wasn't his, stuff like that, supposedly from when he was prime minister. And people freak out. There are riots all over the place. Things are really exploding.
It really shows how much people feel strongly about him, one way or the other. For his supporters, this is proof that the people in power are just trying to stop him from changing things. But for people who don't like him, they say this proves he's not the good guy he pretends to be.
So he ends up in prison, facing all these charges, and there are reports saying he's being kept alone in solitary confinement. It's a huge change from, being prime minister just a few years ago. You have to wonder what he's thinking. Cricket legend, national hero, now a prisoner. Crazy, right?
It shows you that power doesn't last forever, and that even the most popular people can fall from grace. But even from prison, Khan, he's still trying to do things. He says he wants to be the chancellor of Oxford University.
That was a bold move considering everything that was happening.
Mhm.
Didn't work out though, right? They said no because he'd been convicted of a crime and he was still involved in politics. But it showed he wasn't going to just disappear quietly.
Yeah, shows he doesn't give up. He still believes in himself, still fighting for what he believes in. Even with everything going wrong, he's not backing down.
So here we are. Imran Khan, he's been a lot of things. Cricket star, philanthropist, prime minister, political prisoner. And who knows what's next? He's still a huge figure in Pakistan. People either love him or hate him. It's been quite a journey going through all of this. What do you think is the biggest thing we can take away from all this?
For me, it's how much personality matters in politics. Khan, he's got this charisma. He knows how to connect with people, make them feel things. That's always been his strength all through his career. Love him or hate him, you can't deny he's got something that draws people in. And that makes me wonder, can that kind of charisma, can it be enough to keep a whole political movement going? Can it actually fix deep political and economic problems? Those are questions I'm going to keep thinking about as we see what happens next.
That's what I love about deep dives like this, right? It's not about getting all the answers. It's about thinking about all the different sides, all the contradictions, and maybe ending up with more questions than we started with.
Exactly. We looked at his successes and failures, why he did things, the mistakes he made.
Mhm.
Hopefully now you all understand this guy a little better. He's a complicated guy, that's for sure.
We explored the life of Imran Khan from when he was a cricket star to his controversial time in politics. But as you keep learning about him, here's something to think about. What happens when a leader makes some people love him and some people hate him? Can a legacy like that, so divided, can it actually bring people together in the end? That's something worth thinking about.